Hey guys, today we're going to get into the nitty-gritty on what it actually costs to live here in Boise, Idaho. We're going to look at some of the national averages where we compare, but I'm also going to give you a little bit more of that local input to try and give you some specifics on my wife and I, when we live here, what actually things cost so that you can hopefully get an idea if this might be the right place for you. Let's get into it. What's up guys, I'm Chase Dolan and welcome to the Living in Boise channel, where I try to give you that local inside scoop on what it's like to live, work, and play here in the Boise and Treasure Valley area. If you're new here and this piques your interest, please hit that subscribe button below and hit that cute little bell because I release videos like this every Tuesday and Thursday. Now, as much as I love making these videos and engaging with you all, I am a local licensed real estate agent, which means that I would love even more to help you with your real estate needs. So this number below, I'm the one that answers the calls, texts, emails, whatever. If there's something that I can do to help, I would absolutely love to. But let's get into what it takes to actually afford to live here. So when we're talking cost of living, I'm going to be focusing today on the Boise, Idaho area. Now this is going to encompass a lot. This is going to encompass housing. It's going to encompass a lot of the utilities, groceries, what a gallon of gas costs, all sorts of things. So just know this will obviously be super individualized based off who you are, what your family looks like, where you're actually going to be living. But I want to give you a little bit of a taste of what does it actually cost to live there. I know when my wife and I are looking at where we might want to move, whether it's in Idaho, staying here, whether it was moving back after we left for a little bit, whatever it is, the first thing we always look up is, how far does our money go? Like, what is our life actually going to look like? Now, with the cost of living, obviously there's going to be wage differences as well. Okay, so when we're talking about the cost of living, I'm going to be focusing on the Boise, Idaho area specifically today. Boise, Idaho, on a whole, we're still pretty affordable compared to a lot of other cities across the country. Something that I'm sure that you've heard about is how much we've grown over the past few years. This is going to lead a lot of us that have been living here for a while, locals that might have been here for the last 50 years. Everybody's going to start thinking that Boise is extremely expensive, but when we look on a national scale, we are still pretty much on par with a lot. On average, our cost of living is 8% higher than the national average. Of course, when we're looking at averages like this, LA, New York, they're going to skew things super expensive, but we also have super small towns in the South, Midwest that are going to make things feel even more affordable. Boise on par is going to be around there. Now, when we get into housing, our housing is more expensive than the national average by a good amount, about 15% right now. But our groceries, our utilities, all of those things are actually still cheaper than the national average. Now, Boise as a whole, we have been growing like crazy. A lot of this has to do with the relocation wave is the only way that I can kind of put it. That's been happening over the last 5-7 years. Pretty much across every single list, where it's best place to live for young professionals, best place for families, most appealing place to live, whatever it is, whatever list, Boise has been at the top of those lists pretty consistently for the past few years. Now, even other areas in our valley have started to hit that list as well. Because of this, when people were relocating from California, Washington, Texas, Colorado, Nevada, it's from everywhere, but those big ones, the main appeal was lifestyle. Boise as a whole, which we'll get into in other videos, is all about we have a great lifestyle, whether it's nature, our towns, our smaller cities. We've got restaurants, we've got coffee, we've got breweries, we've got wineries. People love to bring their dogs here. There is lifestyle advantages all over the place. But also, up until about 5 years ago, we were also incredibly cheap to live at. At that point, Californians in particular could come here, pretty much have a better lifestyle, something that they truly love, but they could also have their money go 3-4 times as far. It was drastically cheaper to live here than it was in California. Now, we're still a lot cheaper than California, but that gap has definitely shrunk as we've seen our population grow. We've had a lot of relocators come, which led to a lot of appreciation in housing in particular. But on whole, we're still a pretty affordable place to live. But with that being said, I do want to start with housing. So right now in Boise, Idaho, the city of Boise in particular, the median home price that we're seeing, again, median is not average. Everybody likes to use average, which gets super skewed by super cheap homes that are pretty much falling down all the way up to the $4 million homes in the foothills with all the views. The median price is the one that's actually perfectly in the center. That's at around $556,000 right now. Now, on the rental side of things, because a lot of people do rent first, whether it's first-time buyers or people relocating, but they're not really sure where they want to live in particular, we're going to see right now a one-bedroom apartment. The median price for that right now is about $850-ish. Now, this is something that, of course, apartments are going to be a lot cheaper. Single-family homes will be a little bit more expensive for renting, all sorts of stuff there. And I would say that $850, from my personal experience, that'll get you either an apartment or it'll get you a room in somebody's home. We don't have a lot of studio houses. We don't have a lot of one-bedroom, one-bathroom houses here. And those ones that we do have are going to be a little bit more expensive, unfortunately. But that's kind of where you're seeing that one-bedroom rent sit right now. Now, when we look at rent as a whole, just the median rent for people who are renting right now is around $1,700 a month. So our rental market is something that's growing a lot, but it definitely still is not on par with a lot of our neighboring cities. Going back to owning a home, something that I would probably give you as a benchmark, even though that median price is where it's at, when we're looking at relocating, kind of that entry-level average starter home, I would say 3-bed, 2-bath, needs a little bit of work done, probably not in the perfect location. You're going to be looking at somewhere between $450,000 to maybe $550,000 in the city of Boise. Now, in subsequent videos, I'm going to go ahead and do a little series on what each of these cities around and how their cost of living actually compares to Boise. So you'll see where your money could go a little bit farther, but that's where you should be looking. If you're really expecting to get a $300,000 solid home in Boise, it's going to be tough right now. I'm going to be completely honest, but it's still, there's some pretty good affordable options for those that are first-time home buyers. Maybe you're relocating with a family, whatever it is. There are some options if you're looking in that price range. Now let's dive into utilities. So when we're talking utilities, this number that I'm about to throw out at you, it includes electricity, gas, water, sewer, trash, as well as cable and internet. So all of this, again, will depend on you and your family. My wife and I in particular, we do not do cable. Now, what we do, we do a lot of streaming services. I'm not going to get into those because frankly, I don't want to look too closely at how many streaming services we have and what we're paying each month for that.
No, don't like that.
But just know that's where these numbers are coming from. So when we're looking at this, the overall average right now in Boise for a household's utilities is about $300 a month. So the big ones are going to be your electricity and your gas. When we're looking at these on a whole, on average, my estimate and what our family kind of bases all of our budgeting on is both of these, they're going to have different times of year where they're super expensive versus less, just because you're going to be using more or less in the summer. AC's going, all sorts of stuff. You're going to have higher electricity bills, but lower gas. That's going to flip in the winter when your furnace starts to kick on, your water heater a little bit more. Gas is going to be working a little bit harder, whereas AC is taking that nap. They kind of change similarly throughout the year. What we tend to see is on average every month about $150 for electricity and gas put together. Once we start to get into water, sewer, and trash, everything's based off usage. Sewer and trash is pretty much going to be set depending on where you're living. Water could be kind of how much you use. So definitely if you use a little bit more, you're going to be paying a little bit more. Something cool about our area is pretty much, I would say 85% of the homes that have lawns out here are on what's called irrigation. So this is actual water that's coming through the irrigation canals. Frankly, don't ask me to get into the science of irrigation, but it's something that it gets from natural water, it's being held, and it's being used for landscaping in particular. You're gonna get a bill at the beginning of the year typically. Ours, I think, is about $75 a year. This is for all of your landscape water. This is huge because that watering your lawn, watering your plants, all of that kind of stuff isn't going to come out of your actual city water bill. And then finally, when we're talking cable and internet, there's a
Big's hilarious.
a big range of products that you can get. I think right now for internet, we pay about $75. Both of us work from home, so it's going to be a little bit more expensive. Obviously, do your own research, but on a whole, look for about $300 a month for your utilities. The other main survival cost of living thing is going to be your food. So we're going to look at groceries. Right now, the number going around in Boise is that the average for somebody's grocery haul per person per month is around $275. Again, this will change if you're kind of on a ramen diet or you're looking to make homemade sushi every single night. With all of that being said, that's a good estimate of where you're going to be. Right now, to give you some measures, because I know inflation threw everything off, but state by state, this could be something that could be useful. Eggs, right now we're seeing a carton of eggs be about $3, and then we're also seeing a gallon of milk being about $3. Shifting that over as well, because something that I will go into in a different video as well is how Boise's transportation goes. Boise in particular has a bus system, they have some public transportation going, but we are still a small enough town that frankly that development just hasn't started to hit. We don't have a robust public transportation system. We are a super bike friendly town. I will put that out there. There are bike lanes everywhere. There is a ton of infrastructure around bikes in Boise proper. Now, we are a pretty car reliant city. I use my car all the time, as well as my wife, pretty much everybody, just because of the way that we're set up right now. You're gonna need your car for any sort of commute. So a gallon of gas right now is running about $3.80 per gallon. Now, the upside to, even though our public transportation hasn't really been built out, we're pretty car reliant, the traffic in our city is pretty great. What I tell clients and friends all the time is once you start to complain about your commute to work, that's when we really know that you're a local, because coming from anywhere else, Colorado, California, Seattle, the traffic here will feel like a breeze. A long commute to work in the morning here is about 30 to 40 minutes. Okay, so we're about to go into the last couple of things that I want to talk to you about. The first of which being probably the least fun that we're going to talk about, but I promise I'm saving a fun one for the end. We're going to talk taxes. Now, starting here in 2023, Idaho is actually implementing a flat income tax for the state income tax. It's going to be 5.8%. This is actually down from about 6.4% marginal tax rate last year, but they are implementing that. Sales tax, on the other hand, is going to be 6% throughout Boise. So this will be on top of all of your goods and services. You know the deal. Everywhere has their own sales tax. So 6% is what you can expect here. Now, when we start to talk about property taxes, this is something that'll change a lot based off where you're living, can even come down to sometimes your neighborhoods, because there's a lot of different libraries, school levies, all of those fun things. On average, what we tend to see is about your property tax bill will be around 1% to 1.4% of your home's value. Now, we also have something called the homestead exemption, which I won't go too into, but this actually gives you $125,000 off of your assessed value tax-free. So really it ends up being a little bit less than that, but 1 to 1.4% is what I would anticipate over the full year. Okay, now that we got the thing that most of us despise the most out of the way, taxes, I'm gonna get into what does an average night on the town look like? What are we really looking for when it comes to date night, going out for an anniversary? I'm gonna use my wife and I as an example for a couple of these. If you're going out and you want something that's a little bit fancier, let's say that this is an occasion dinner, but you're not looking to go out and just spend $700 on the nicest steak in town, you're gonna be looking at probably around 80 to 100 bucks. This will get you a really good appetizer, it'll get you a really, really good dish, get you a drink or two each, as well as potentially even a dessert, tip, tax, all included, just 2 people. You're gonna be looking at about 80 to 100 bucks. Now, let's say that you wanna keep it a little bit more low key. This is kind of that first date thing. We're looking at kind of Saturday afternoon, more of the burger and fries. You wanna go out, get some pizza, keep it a little bit more low key. This is where we're actually gonna be looking at, you could get something pretty good for 2 people for 20 to 30 bucks. Burger and fries each, we're looking at a soda, potentially even a dessert, depending on where you go. 20 to 30 bucks for that, you're gonna be in a pretty good position. Now, the cool thing with Boise is with all of our growth, we're seeing more and more food options coming up. We're seeing a lot more non-chain restaurants, locally owned. We're seeing a little bit more diverse food coming in. This is opening up. We're having a lot more food trucks and taco trucks, things like that coming, which gives you a lot more cheaper options. But also, we're gonna start to have more and more options for different types of food, a little bit more nicer food if you wanna go out, all sorts of things. So to sum it all up, cost of living is gonna change a lot based off what you like to do, where you like to eat, all of those fun things about how you want to live your life. Somebody who's been here for a while, Boise has a lot to offer. That's something that I want to pass on to you all, especially if you're not familiar with the area. This phone number here, I'm the one that answers the calls, answers the texts, answers the emails, all of that. I want to be your person to help you actually get acquainted with the area and make sure that this is somewhere that you could truly love where you live. In the meantime, I hope that you all enjoy, and I'll see you on the next one.